Kevin O'Leary says opponents of his Utah data center are professional protesters, and some are powered by AI. Now, of course, we're going to skim through this because I have a really good clip to play. But Colin, if you would, please.
Oh my God! Wait, you didn't give me I didn't know it was happening yet. Wait.
You have to. Yeah.
I have to at least present my his royal assholeness. This total piece of shit. Yep. Okay. Thank you.
This is another one of those vulture capitalists that grew up in a country with universal education and healthcare.
He looks in that photo. He looks like, you know, your Uncle Saul's face was posted on like a pimp or something.
Well, he went to the Met Gala. I mean, what do you expect?
Of course he did. Of course he did.
By the way, guys, in case you didn't know, the minimum cost to get into the Met Gala this year, $100,000 minimum. All right, let's see what some of the wonderful highlights are of this wonderful story. Kevin O'Leary says paid activists, despite protests, the 40,000-acre project was unanimously approved on Monday. We're going to get to that shortly. The finished data center is expected to generate and consume twice the energy used by the entire state of Utah.
All right, Utah. This is your time. This is your time with your permitless carry friggin' firing squad ways to handle business at your own level. Take care of your house, okay? Don't allow this guy to come in here and ruin your shit. That's all I'm saying.
I just fucking Canadians, man. They're the worst.
We should have.
We need to close that border.
Close that border.
That's the real problem is that border. We need a wall.
We're going to put a big, beautiful wall on the northern border. You watch. Going to be great. Shark Tank investor Kevin O'Leary is defending his plans for a Utah data center that was just approved by state officials despite community backlash. Now, O'Leary is dismissing those critics of the multi-billion-dollar project, of course, saying that they are professional protesters. O'Leary, also known as Mr. Wonderful, said concerns about the project are well understood by his team, which includes impact on air, water use, heat, and noise. Yeah, I don't know how concerned.
Yeah, they apparently they heat up like the whole area for miles. Like it's not, it's like crazy.
What's even more amazing.
Nobody wants these things except for the very few people that are making money. And honestly, there are way more of us than there are of them. And let them try that stuff in places like Utah, permitless carry, firing squad. There's opportunities there. That's all I'm saying.
The Box Elder County Data Center is facing pushback from those worried about environmental strain and resource use, a common flashpoint as energy-hungry data centers fueling the growth of the AI expand across the U.S. You see, Lee, this is one of the reasons why I can't deal with what I think most people would refer to as the dumb left when it comes to messaging. The powers that be will always say that climate change is just a hoax. It's not real. You're all making shit up. You know what isn't a hoax? Contaminated water supply, contaminated air supply, lack of agriculture growth, lack of space to live in. These things are definitely part of climate change, but they are part of environmental destruction. You see, language matters, and being able to convince people of what's in front of their own two eyes. So you can't see climate change, but you can see environmental destruction. And that's exactly what this is. And if you don't play the game the way that it can be identified with everyday people, like people that are, let's say, conservative people in Utah, then you're always going to lose. But this is something that I think is very noticeable that you can't take your eyes off of.
And we should throw in here that there's been a lot of successes over the past year of various areas fighting against AI data centers. It's not just an inevitability that whenever the rich want these things, they happen. I mean, they certainly are able to ram it through some of the time. But there's been some big wins. I know a couple of cities in New Jersey stopped theirs from coming. Most of the wins have either been from pressuring the town council to stop it or from lawsuits against the data centers, which then just slows down the whole process. And often the corporations will decide they don't want to fight the lawsuit because they don't want to, be dealing with that for 2 years. Instead, they just rather go somewhere else. So it is possible to win against these data centers.
Paul Morris, who is the executive director of Utah's Military Installation Development Authority. Again, could we just talk about the fact that these data centers are all for the military industrial complex? I mean, almost universally, that is what these things are for. They are not for improving your ability to use your phone or, chat GPT. This is,
and I can tell you honestly, for me personally, I don't really give a shit what they're for. I don't give a shit what they're for.
But let's also remember they're to take a lot of people's jobs, so that's good. So
yeah,
steal a lot of jobs. And I also like to point out that if we dealt with the fact that AI will be taking a lot of jobs and already is, if we dealt with that like adults and like rational adults, we'd be like, oh, so maybe everybody needs to work less and get paid the same. But of course, that's not how our shit corporatism works.
No, because we need people like Kevin O'Leary to basically set the tone as to who should get what and not, and who should be able to be where they want not, even though he's not even from here.
It's funny, in our celebrity obsessed culture, the best thing that could happen right now is somebody like O'Leary being the poster child, because anybody who has ever watched Shark Tank knows that he is the ultimate vulture capitalist. He's disgusting pig. He has no morals. He has no qualms about hurting people, hurting environments, hurting resources. It doesn't matter. If he can make money off of it, he will do it. He does not hesitate. And
can I ask you why? Okay. Where does the Mr. Wonderful come from? Because I went and found, to me, I know who to me is Mr. Wonderful. Okay. That's Mr. Wonderful right there.
Paul Horn.
That is my Mr. Wonderful. I am a child of the 70s.
Were you a pro wrestling fan, Jen?
Okay, so back in the day, my dad used to take me. I mean, we would everything from Dusty Rhodes to Hulk Hogan to
really, yeah. Me too. But it's rare to find a woman that grew up on professional wrestling.
Okay, well, only child to my dad. So I'm the menu. And as somebody who did, when somebody's calling themselves Mr. Wonderful, that's a pretty high standard. You know what I'm saying? So
I missed that part. Does Kevin O'Leary call himself Mr. Wonderful?
Yes. Well,
that's
it's a play
his
on
name
words.
Is Mr. Wonderful. That's his brand.
Yes, he's such an asshole, but that's really the whole point. It's like he embraces being an asshole. I really believe that. So
he's Mangione monetary theory. He needs to learn some Mangione.
There's several of these billionaires that have seen the success of Trump and gone, oh, so we should just be total assholes and lean into it.
According to the project's publicly available fact sheet, the full build out will consume about 9 gigawatts of energy, which is just insane to even contemplate that amount. The 40,000 acre project, which is twice the size of Manhattan, which local news outlet KSL reported will be built over the next 10 years, was unanimously approved by the MIDA board on Monday, which was attended by hundreds of booing and sign-waving protesters. Now, here's where we're going to take an offshoot on this story. Colin, if you could pull up that photo that I just sent you. There are 3 county commissioners in Box Elder County. What a name. But this particular area, Northwest Utah, the head honcho of this county commission is a man by the name of Boyd Bingham. And yes, he looks exactly as you would expect him to look. So
that is how I expect Boyd Bingham to look.
So this guy, whose justification behind this,
I like how the pose is like he's pregnant and she's excited for the baby. We're expecting a little one.
Considering how much of a quintessential MAGA hat wearing old white Trump supporter would look like and conduct himself, I think he would keel over if he heard you just say that. But yes, I definitely agree. The justification from Boyd Bingham as to why this project should go forward: 2,000 jobs.
Do we know that he's not? Do we know he's real?
He's real.
Okay.
$37 million in tax revenue. That's what he's claiming. Now, all the other things that happen in the area, that's not his problem. And what ends up happening so often, especially in beautiful states like Utah, and Utah is a beautiful state if you've ever been there. This guy is clearly in his 70s. He doesn't give a shit. And considering, as you can see, with his very rotund and protruding midsection, probably isn't going to be around in the next 10 to 15 years. So he's not going to know whether or not the absolute unequivocal environmental destruction that he's going to unleash on this area is going to be felt. However, what we do know with absolute certainty is that this guy is a former mayor. He has been a politician for many years. He is 1000% getting his wheels greased. Lord knows what type of a land deal he was able to secure as a result of getting in bed with Mr. Wonderful.
Or they either bribed him or they threatened him and they're blackmailing him, or they threatened somebody that he cared about, or his wife does tricks on the weekend and they don't want that information out there. It could be a lot of varieties as to how they're controlling him. It might not necessarily
I don't know if they need to control him. Isn't this the kind of politics you'd expect from someone in the middle of Utah? Or
well, no.
Like corporate, no matter what. I don't care.
No.
Give us money.
I'm going to tell you why, and it depends. And I don't know this particular segment of Utah, but it looks very rural.
It's
and in rural, okay, so but I don't know what that is in terms of the industries there, like what's there. But farmer people, rancher people, rural people, they don't want this shit around them. So a lot of the people, because where I live now is basically like that. I live in a farm valley full of Trumpers. And I assure you, if they tried to put one of those things in this valley, those people would be down there with an arsenal like you've never seen. It would never happen. So it's interesting.
They love some NIMBY.
This is his office. This is his office number. That is his email. So do with it what you feel is necessary. And this goes to everybody who will see it. I think that's been left up long enough. Just jot it down, screenshot it, do what you got to do. The thing that we learned years ago when Wasserman Schultz was trying to put a private prison in Southwest Florida is that she actually tried to do it in an area where people were pretty affluent. And it didn't go over well. So what did they naturally do? They probably found a place where it's not so affluent and they feel that they can get away with it. They think that this is...
you mean like Alligator Alcatraz?
Exactly.
Like that? Well, so you have somebody like Debbie Wasserman Schultz that proposes putting a for-profit center in our district. They don't like that. So then when they do one down in Alligator Alcatraz, but she comes out and opposes it, like somehow that's just so horrible that Trump would do that. See that?
Well,
yeah, and the reason they put these things in non-affluent areas is not just because they don't want to harm their friends, but it's because money equals power. So people without a lot of money generally have very little political power. So they have very little ways to stop it. And people with money can also hire lawyers that can fight it. So they just know they're not going to put up with a lot of a fight among poor people. And then you end up with corporate sacrifice zones. There's pretty much some in every state, but then there's some states that are worse than others, like Louisiana is horrific for corporate sacrifice zones. But
is that like cancer areas, basically?
Yeah, cancer alleys and stuff. And you'll even find people they're almost always very poor, but they support the industry because it's the only jobs. So you have them working at the place that's killing them and giving their family cancer, but of course nobody's telling them that.
And there's no way for them out. There's no way for them to get out of it. I mean, I think that's what people don't understand is that the people that are stuck like this, it's not a choice. It's not a choice. First of all, it costs money to move. It costs money. And not to mention when your property has been poisoned and you have toxic water, it's not like there's people lining up to buy your property. And if they did, where are you affording to move when that like these people have nowhere to go?
Yeah, there's a lot and a lot of rural areas, rural Louisiana, et cetera. It's like they've lived there for 100 years. They don't, many of them, the idea of like, just pick up and go to Detroit or something. It's like, I don't know anything outside of here. Like,
Well,
Yeah.
there's that whole, it's not even a triangle. It's like one giant circle that covers a big portion of especially northern rural Louisiana, Arkansas, and even East Texas, where so much of this goes on. So much of the dumping goes on, and no one knows about it because this is poor America. And when it's poor America, people are not going to hear about it. And yet, when I was in DC with Jen, I actually was able to get a pass from Bernie's office to go and sit in on his speech. So I had to get there early, and I had to hear other people speak, including Senator Kennedy from Louisiana, listening to this fuckhead of a senator defend why we absolutely have to go to war against Iran. It is necessary. Would you have armed Charlie Manson back in the day if you had an opportunity to take him out? And I'm just thinking, yeah, exactly how they think. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people who buy it. And for people like us who are informed, we look at it and say, this guy's a freaking joke. But to the average, deep Southerner who hears him talking in that drawl, kind of like LBJ and a bunch of others used to talk back in the day, feels homely. And, he would never speak ill of our people. He's looking out for our best interests. Not really. So the cartoon villain decided to make a little video to kind of bring this thing all full circle. Like I said,
You're going to have to be more specific. Which villain?
When Mr. Wonderful decides to make
that is not Mr. Wonderful.
Well, no, but here's what he had to say.
How are you offsetting these environmental concerns?
Well, I'm actually the only developer of data centers on Earth that graduated from environmental studies. So
wow, environmental studies.
I'm the biggest hypocrite of all the data center creators.
Wait, first of all, just a bit. A degree in environmental studies.
I'm not racist because I have a black friend. I feel like that's the same.
It's
same thing.
So stupid, but I don't think people understand what that means. A bachelor's degree in universal studies or environmental studies is just a liberal arts degree where they took classes about recycling.
Well, it depends on how you act. It doesn't matter what you studied.
Of course, it's silly, but he says that like it's an authority of something.
But he's talking like such a shit lib. Well, I have this degree in this study, so that definitely qualifies me.
Oh my God.
I'm pretty aware of what these concerns are. They are around air, water use, heat, noise, pollution. So sustainability is at the heart of what we do in terms of all these proposals. We're not just Utah. We have 10,000 acres in Alberta, Canada, with the same concerns. And so we search for the best technology. There's many air-cooled turbines now. So you're blending in air-cooled versus water. There's so many different ways to generate power. We can also put a percentage of the power generation through solar, wind, and battery.
By the way, it's not lost on me, and it shouldn't be lost on anybody that it does look like he's taking a dick in his mouth. But that's just coincidence. I don't think that was.
I'm just trying to figure out why he's sitting in a car in a warehouse, but whatever.
Because he's important, Jen. You have to understand. He has a driver. He's in one of those big gas guzzling SUVs, probably a fleet. Because he's a big deal.
Well, and also the things he's talking about, he's like, these are at the center of our concerns. We're gonna put in a windmill or whatever. It's like you could put in a fucking wind turbine and still be destroying the planet. It doesn't. He's like, we'll have something out front that'll make people think we give a shit.
Bingo.
Batteries, because the battery technology is 10x more efficient than it was just 5 years ago. So that's very helpful because it makes the cost of energy lower. So no one, if you're an environmentalist and you don't care about that stuff, of course you protest, and that's what happens. I noted, what's happening in Utah right now is we think over 90% of the protesters are actually not people that live in Utah or Box Elder County. They're being bussed in. And
Isn't it funny coming from someone that's also not like, where the fuck are you from?
Yeah, you're being busted.
Canadian. Kick all the Canadians out.
He's been bussed in to destroy large swaths of America.
Like crazy.
Utah aren't stupid. They see this happening and they realize, why am I letting people from don't even live in my state make decisions for me? And I don't think it's going to work out for them.
Wait,
but they're professional.
He doesn't live
He doesn't live in that state either.
Right. That's what's so great about this.
He'd have no reason to go.
I don't know where he lives, but he's from Canada, and I don't think I ever heard of him living in Utah.
No, O'Leary,
I don't think he has any connection to Utah. I think he just called around for people.
I think Miami. I think he has a place in Miami.
Yeah, and he lives in Manhattan. I'm pretty sure.
But the other thing is, him and his fellow ruling psychopaths. They look for an area of the country that's willing to have something that large, which there are not that many. I mean, relatively speaking, it's not like you could slam this in like New York City or something. So they look for that, and then they look for low population because it's like, oh, so your city council only has 12 voters. I bet we can bribe, those pretty easily. Like that's the easiest thing to buy.
Yeah.
And in this case, it was only 3. That's it. The whole commission's 3 people with Boyd Bingham at the head of the table.
Protesters that are paid by somebody, I don't know who, and of course, they use AI to generate this is what's kind of funny about it. If you look at the social media around the Utah proposal, much of it's AI generated, which I think is kind of hypocritical.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think the more he talks, the more people are going to just reject all of this because that's what's going to happen. This is what happens in other parts of the world. And again, it's the one thing about being American. Americans are way too comfortable, even if they're living in poverty. There's way too many that are just lethargic and not really willing to fight because of being.
He's half Lebanese and half Irish for anybody. That's just the deal.
And 100% full of shit.
Oh, again, it goes to show you that assholishness comes in all ethnicities and backgrounds. I mean, really, it's pretty fluid that way.
Yeah, no, it's like 1 out of every 100 people are sociopaths or psychopaths, and those are the ones that get to the position he's in, which is you have billions and billions of dollars, and you still think you need more, and you're willing to destroy human beings and animals and planet and everything else to get there, and it doesn't really matter where you're from in many respects. It's like that 1 out of 100 is going to be willing to do the shit he does, and some are get lucky enough to make the billions that gives them the power to destroy more of the world.